The hospital lights flickered softly against the quiet hallway. The smell of antiseptic lingered in the air, and the rhythmic beeping of machines echoed faintly through the ward. Amid the endless rush of patients and doctors, one young woman stood out, not because of her beauty, but because of her heart. Her name was Amara Khan, a 26-year-old nurse who had joined the city's largest hospital barely a year ago. Her days were long, her nights sleepless, but her smile never faded. Patients loved her gentle voice, her kind eyes, and the way she listened as if their pain was her own. What most people didn't know was that Amara carried her own pain, a story she never shared. Years ago, her younger brother had died of kidney failure because their family couldn't afford the transplant. That tragedy had changed her life forever. She vowed that someday, she would save someone else from the same fate. Chapter 1: The Mysterious Patient. It was a stormy night when a critical patient was rushed into the emergency room. The man was unconscious, pale, and hooked to multiple machines. The doctors whispered among themselves. His condition was severe, and he urgently needed a kidney transplant. Amara quickly checked his file. Name: Ryan Malik. Age: 34. Condition: renal failure. Blood type: O negative. She blinked in surprise. O negative was rare. Very few donors could match that. The man had no family listed, no visitors, and the emergency contact section was blank. "Who is he?" she asked softly. "No idea," replied another nurse. "He came in alone, but I heard he's a CEO of some big company. Doesn't look like the type who has anyone left to call." Amara looked down at the man's face. Even unconscious, he looked strong, like someone who had built an empire with his own hands. But there was also loneliness in his features, a kind of sadness that success can't hide. Days passed, and Ryan remained in the hospital. Doctors tried every treatment, but nothing worked. The only hope left was a kidney transplant. Amara watched him struggle, remembering her brother. Something inside her whispered that this was her chance to do what she couldn't before. That night, she signed the donor consent form. Chapter 2: The Gift of Life. When the doctors told Ryan that they'd found a donor, he was stunned. "A stranger is willing to give me their kidney?" he asked weakly. "Yes," the doctor replied. "She's one of our nurses. You owe her your life." Ryan's throat tightened. He couldn't understand why anyone would risk their life for him. He was used to business deals, betrayals, and people who only cared about his money. But this was pure, selfless kindness. The surgery went well. Days later, when Ryan woke up, his first question was, "Where is she?" Amara was recovering in the next room. Her face was pale but peaceful. When Ryan entered, she smiled faintly. "You shouldn't be up," she said softly. He chuckled weakly. "You gave me a reason to be up." They spoke for hours that day. Ryan told her about his lonely life, how he had built a massive company after losing his parents young. Money became his shield, his way to survive, but in the process he lost touch with humanity. Amara, in turn, told him about her brother. Her voice trembled when she said, "I couldn't save him. Maybe saving you will give my heart some peace." Ryan looked at her then, truly looked at her, and felt something change inside him. Chapter 3: Healing Hearts. Weeks turned into months. Ryan's health improved rapidly. He visited the hospital often, bringing flowers and books for the patients. The man who once lived behind boardroom walls now spent time reading to children in the ward. Amara noticed the change and smiled every time she saw him laugh, but she never expected anything more. In her heart, she was content knowing she'd saved a life. Yet Ryan couldn't forget her. He found himself thinking about her even during business meetings. Her kindness had left a mark deeper than any contract ever could. One evening, he asked her to join him for coffee. "I just want to thank you properly," he said. Amara hesitated but agreed. Over coffee, they spoke not as nurse and patient, but as two souls who had found each other through pain. She shared stories of her childhood. He shared memories of his lonely mansion filled with silence. By the time they left, both felt something neither had expected, a connection that words couldn't define. Chapter 4. The Distance Between Worlds. But life isn't a fairy tale, and love doesn't come without trials. Ryan wanted to see Amara often, but his world was different, full of cameras, meetings, and people who measured worth by wealth. When the media discovered that the billionaire CEO had received a kidney from a hospital nurse, headlines erupted. Millionaire saved by poor nurse, rumors of romance begin. Amara was humiliated. Paparazzi crowded her home, questioning her motives. "Did you do it for money?" one reporter shouted. "Are you marrying him for fame?" another asked. Her heart broke. She had done it out of pure compassion, but now it looked like a scandal. Ryan tried to protect her, but even he couldn't stop the wave of gossip. "Maybe it's better if we stay apart for now," Amara said one evening, tears filling her eyes. Ryan's chest tightened. "Please don't say that." "It's not about us," she whispered. "It's about peace. I don't want my kindness to become a headline." And just like that, she walked away. Chapter 5. The Lonely CEO. Months passed. Ryan threw himself into work, but his office felt emptier than ever. He visited the hospital secretly sometimes just to see her from afar. She was back to her duties, smiling at patients, comforting families, but he could see the sadness behind that smile. Then one day, Amara fell ill. Her body had been under stress since the transplant, and exhaustion finally took its toll. She fainted during a night shift and was rushed to the same emergency room where she had once saved him. Ryan arrived within minutes. Seeing her lying there, pale and fragile, broke something inside him. He held her hand and whispered, "You gave me life, Amara. Let me give you mine now." Chapter 6. Love Beyond Wealth. When Amara woke up, Ryan was sitting beside her bed. His eyes were tired but filled with warmth. "Why are you here?" she murmured. "Because this is where I belong," he replied, "next to the person who taught me what life truly means." She smiled faintly. "Ryan, people will talk again." "Let them," he interrupted gently. "I'm done living for what people say." For the first time, she saw him not as a CEO, but as a man who had once been lost, but had found his way through kindness. Weeks later, Ryan proposed to her in the hospital garden, the same place where she had once prayed for his recovery. He didn't bring diamonds or expensive gifts. He brought a single white rose and said, "This rose may fade someday, but my gratitude for you never will. You didn't just give me a kidney, Amara. You gave me a reason to live." Tears welled up in her eyes. She said yes. Chapter 7. A New Beginning. Their wedding was small, intimate, attended by hospital staff and a few close friends. Ryan had left behind the glittering world of corporate fame to open a free health foundation, the Amara Trust, dedicated to helping patients who couldn't afford transplants. Together, they worked side by side, turning pain into purpose. Every patient they helped reminded Amara of her brother, and every smile reminded Ryan of how one act of kindness had changed his entire life. Years later, when reporters asked Ryan about his success, he simply said, "Success is not what you build with money, it's what you build with love." Final message to viewers. Dear viewers, this story reminds us that kindness has the power to heal not just bodies, but hearts too. Never underestimate the good you can do for someone, even if you think it's small. You never know, you might change a life forever. Sparkling heart, if you felt touched by this story, please leave a comment below and tell us what you learned from it. Speech Balloon, we love reading your thoughts. Don't forget to like this video if it moved you. Repeat button, share it with your friends and family to spread positivity. And bell subscribe to our channel Kindness Quest for more inspiring real-life stories that warm your heart and remind you of the power of compassion.